Hey, what's going on? It's Spazdor. Today, I wanted to cover a hot topic amongst many Overwatch 1 veterans, bringing 2 Capture Point, aka Assault, back into normal game mode rotation, as well as how the replacement game mode, Push, was perceived as a bad replacement. I'll say immediately, though, that I miss 2 Capture Point, or as I will continue to refer to it as, 2CP. The maps the game mode held, like Hanamura and Volskaya Industries, hold some really awesome memories.
Fucking kill myself now.
Winning a long-fought game at 8-7 felt so good, and the immediate toxic game chat from the other team was hilarious. However, I don't think 2CP will make its way back into the Overwatch 2 game mode roster, and Push being added to the game to replace it was essential for the new 5v5 format. After playing through multiple games of 2CP when it finally came up in the arcade, I can honestly say, it sucked.
What the fuck is this?
The only motive that kept me queuing back into it was the nostalgia factor of playing these beloved maps and certain hero picks on those maps that were simply legendary. There is nothing in the world that could replace how fun it was to play Reaper on second point of Temple of Anubis. And mastering Doomfist rollouts on Volskaya Industries are some of my fondest Overwatch 1 memories. After I got past the nostalgia and really started playing the game mode, I got annoyed and bored.
Alright, we're done with this game mode for now.
Which led me to the epiphany. 2CP was an exclusively Overwatch 1 game mode, and Push is an exclusively Overwatch 2 game mode. And no, I don't mean literally. Of course you couldn't play Push in Overwatch 1. It wasn't even a game mode. What do you think?
Huge.
Come on. To start, let me explain my reasoning that led me to this conclusion. When I played my first games of Overwatch 2 in Week 1, as a veteran of Overwatch 1, I was completely lost. The game had changed so much in the sequel that I nearly had to completely relearn the game. The fast pace of the game felt very foreign but refreshing. I couldn't just play Ana by sitting behind my Reinhardt without a lot of movement, and playing a hero like D.Va brought different challenges than before, with her being the sole tank of the team. Like getting a new pair of shoes, it was rough trails until I broke into the game. Overwatch 2 really earned the 2 in its title. Now, instead of sitting behind shields and tanks dealing tick damage until someone dies, the whole team is jumping onto the opposition and engagements are settled in nearly half the time. In the time that one Overwatch 1 teamfight took, 2 fights could happen in the new format, which really leads into why 2CP doesn't work in Overwatch 2. With fights resolving much quicker, the stall potential of close spawn on Capture Point just isn't there. If you were defending Hanamura second point with a decently staggered team, as long as one tank was alive on the point, they could stall just long enough for the other tank to respawn and start contesting. The tanks constantly were able to respawn and stall on second points with help from their other respawning teammates. One teamfight that you as the attacking team invest 2 or 3 ults into to win could go on for minutes longer solely because of the stall potential of the 2 tank players on the close spawn of second point. The 2 or 3 ultimates that you invested might as well have been wasted. Attacking second point to win meant to wipe the entire team so that you could capture while the whole enemy team was respawning. I should also mention that team kills were much more rare than they are in the sequel. 6v6 made the possibility of 1 out of 6 players to slip away before being eliminated. Team wipes were truthfully the most efficient way to win these games, because if even one enemy is staggered, the close spawn gave them a lot of stall potential.
Not today.
Huge.
With that being said, playing 2CP in Overwatch 2 has games flying by, leaving both teams thinking, wow, that's it?
Wait, was I not on? Whatever.
Since fights are shortened due to the new game tempo and how these shortened fights resolve in generally a team kill, defender spawn advantage doesn't really mean anything. What's the use of having a close spawn if you can't respawn and contest since everyone's eliminated? Simple answer, there is no use. Also notably, in Overwatch 1, the rolling probability of clearing first point and Lucio speed boosting to the next before the enemy team could respawn is much more frequent in the new format. Half the 2CP games I played ended in a minute and a half because we failed first point and the other team just blazed right to the second point before we could set up at all. All of this is due to just how much faster the game is now. And as much as I want 2CP back in normal rotation, it just really doesn't make a lot of sense now. What I think should be done is adding the Assault game mode permanently to the arcade so it doesn't feel weeks out of reach for players that have a knack to play the game mode. Because waiting weeks for it to pop up in arcade can feel like a drag, and plenty of players would like to have it available when they do get that itch to play it.
I gave up, yeah.
To box this all up and put it in rapid, 2CP doesn't work in Overwatch 2 because of the new game tempo, lack of stall ability due to losing a second tank on the team, and defender advantage losing a lot of its previous value thanks to the 2 prior points. Now, to be fair, with 2CP being in the arcade now, there is no roll queue, so running 4 tanks and a Lucio is an option. So some of my points could be argued if roll queue was in effect in these games. However, I do strongly believe that with the new pace of fights, roll queue's effect on the outcome of these games wouldn't be on the game clock. If anything, enforced rolls would expedite how long these games are. Moving on. Like 2CP being exclusively in Overwatch 1 game mode, push is the exact same way with Overwatch 2. Now I'm not planning on defending push's flaws in game flow as I go over this, because I do think that the game mode needs some adjustments. Rather, I want to explain why push was a necessary replacement for 2CP. As I previously went over, the game flow and teamfight resolution has changed so much, and push is a result of that change. There are a few mirror points here from 2CP, and I hope that you'll see the same points that I do.
There we go.
Push, at its core, is a hybrid form of the payload game mode, also known as escort. Both teams try to push their payload to its final destination with checkpoints on the trail ahead, giving both teams the opportunity to attack and defend in the same game without a round change. On paper, it sounds like an awesome tug-of-war game mode. Unfortunately, in practice, there were a few flaws. What if you win a defensive fight and have the robot moving in your favor, but before you can reach your barricade, the robot is contested by the other team? This generates a whole new team fight you need to win before you can reach your barricade. And if you lose, well, that last team fight you won, it doesn't really mean a lot. Any ultimates that you invested to win that fight are wasted since you weren't able to clutch 2 fights in a row due to lack of ability resource. However, since fights are resolved much more hastily, this game mode is viable in a new format. Fights need to finish quickly so the flow of payload progress isn't stagnant. Unless the opposing team purposely disengages from a fight after suffering an elimination or 2, team fights are generally resolved in team wipes, giving your team the opportunity to push. If push was in the old format with all the stall potential that brings, the robot really wouldn't move too far. Honestly, in my opinion, if push was in the old format, pushing the barricade to the forward spawn point would feel like a milestone, and forward spawn would be achieved with like 2 minutes left in the game.
Oh, he's fucking doing it again!
Imagine this with me for a second. You're running a classic 2016 Overwatch dive comp on push. A team with Winston, Diva, Genji, Tracer, Lucio, and Zenyatta.
Idiot.
The only member of that team with no mobility is Zenyatta, but the rest of the team roster can bolt over to the point in a flash. In push, if the team is constantly being able to reach the robot through staggering, a fight will be extremely prolonged since 1 life does not mean 1 team fight. 1 team fight could mean dying 3 times, but still getting to the point fast enough to stall. Meanwhile, you got the robot in New Queen Street looking at you like, bro, can you please move me from under this bridge? Come on, like... Overall, though, push was the perfect replacement for 2 capture point. It was molded to fit the new format, but still gives some of the same grief that 2CP did. Like, why'd I even bother blading and killing 3 people if the Roadhog's just gonna press E infinitely with an Ana pocket? He's literally unkillable. Someone kill this hog. Likewise between both game modes. Both would not work in the other's format. As much as I want to be on the front lines begging for 2CP to make an official comeback, it just doesn't make sense. Push is the new 2CP, and that's really just how it is. Instead of a nearly infinite second point stall, you get a series of team fights before you're able to make any progress at all. Comeback victories now take extra work instead of just stalling for extra time, which I'm still conflicted on whether that's better or not. Both result in extra fights, just in different fashion.
She just popped up out of nowhere.
Coming from down.
After watching through my games of 2CP, I started noticing some of the consistencies in my games of team composition and that effect on the game flow. I came to another thought. OpenQ is a potential home for 2CP for a few reasons. As I browsed through these games, I noticed some games were very one-sided and over quickly, while others played just like how the game mode used to. Generally, if a team ran a minimum of 2 tanks and 2 supports, the game stretched out to overtime or close to it like how the games used to in the old format. Having the option to have 2 tanks is a huge deal due to the space that those tanks command when they're played correctly. Reinhardt and Zarya are just rolling out and running at you, and that's 2,500 health worth of tank just pressing W mouse 1 until your measly 200 health is eaten up to them like a blueberry to a bear. The ability to choose more than one tank on these 2 capture point maps allowed the already small map space to be filled with space commanding tanks. And the less space that one team has, the less openings they have to make a play. With less openings, due to more space being controlled, the stall potential on these points is revived, and the long stalls of 2CP are more likely to happen. Stalling second points with 5 tanks is also an option, and it's hell. Get off of my goddamn map.
Bye-bye.
The games that felt one-sided were the games that both teams picked fairly normal team compositions, with either one tank or no tank at all. That literally just invites Overwatch's new game flow right into the mode. Team fights were decided without much stall, and then the next team fight on second would get rolled with the defense only having one big beefy tank to stall. Playing one tank just does not work if you want a chance to win the game. With that in mind, I feel OpenQ would be a viable option for 2CP to make a resurgence into the normal unranked and potentially, but not definitely, ranked Overwatch queue. Since you are able to run some of the same team compositions with maybe -1 support or DPS, the stall potential on these maps is available. With bringing back 2CP into the OpenQ option, Blizzard could appease the fans who want it back, as well as give the new Overwatch 2 players the experience of the hellhole of a game mode we all played in Overwatch 1. But what do all of you think about this? Do you think 2CP should come back, despite how it functions in the new format? Or are you a push stan that shames 2CP lovers? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this. Thank you for watching, and be sure to leave a like so that I, well, know you liked it. Follow me on Twitch and catch me when I'm live, and follow my Twitter for content and stream updates. I recently started posting little funny haha moments on TikTok, so if you're interested in that or any other socials, links are in the description. Have an amazing day. Bye bye.